Welcome to the Southern Six Sports Podcast, brought to you by 228sports.com. Now let's get in the game with your host, Bruce Thornton.
And welcome to the Southern Six Sports Podcast, brought to you by 228 Sports, episode 2 of season 3, as we head towards the kickoff of football season here in South Mississippi. The high school season just a couple of weeks away. Already got volleyball going on, cross country, golf, all kicking off as well. And 228 Sports is going to have it all covered through different avenues. And one of the new avenues that we started last year and are really picking up steam with this year is our Students on the Field program. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight, introduce you to some of these young men and young ladies that will be a part of this program, that will be out on Friday nights and really throughout the week in gymnasiums, maybe cross-country meets. Who knows, maybe even out at a golf course doing some interviews. And we're also going to talk to Lea Santiago as one of the coaches on the staff at St. Patrick, former player of mine. Talked to her last year again, but she is kind of heading this up. Jamie has talked to her about becoming kind of the focal point to this organization, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we really just want you to get to know the young ladies and the young men that will be doing this as part of 228 Sports. But good evening, Lea. Good to talk to you again, as always.
Good evening, Coach Thornton or Bruce.
Congratulations.
What do I call you now? Do I call you Coach Thornton
yeah,
since you're
it's still
retired?
Coach Thornton.
It's
okay.
always Coach Thornton.
Yeah,
You're actually still in my phone as Coach Thornton.
Well, that's where it should be.
You know, it's funny. I'm surprised I even have your number even saved, because between all the numbers that I've ever memorized in my life, it's just yours and my mom's. Because I'm like, if I go to jail, I can't call my mom.
No.
I got to call my coach.
That's it.
But he's going to tell my mom. So, yeah.
Well, we can at least prepare. So there you go. But haven't talked to you officially, but congratulations. St. Patrick, great year last year. We talked going into the championship, and you guys came up a little short, but still a great year for the Lady Irish and what y'all were able to do last year.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the girls did a great job. I think that, you know, just having a really young team, they're hungry for it now. So we're actually about to start ramping up that off season, workout, running, and all that kind of stuff until our season kicks off in February.
There you go. So all this free time you got between that and travel ball and raising a family and all that, Jamie Foster has talked you into kind of heading up the students on the field.
I just feel like I don't have enough hats.
There you go. And photography, I forgot about that.
LOL
and doing
that you call it free time, because that's not a thing.
No. But you have been involved in 228 Sports as a photographer, and you know, a lot of covering mostly Harrison County and some George County stuff. Coming back home to do that. But what was the sales pitch for Jamie to get you involved in this with these young men and young women?
Well, you know, honestly, I in high school actually was part of the journalism staff, and sports photography was always something that I enjoyed doing, and one of the main reasons I even got into photography. So the fact that whenever Jamie reached out to me the first time and asked me to do photography for, I think it was like the Hancock game against George County, I was like, absolutely, I'm going to jump on that. And I think that giving...
You're welcome, by the way, because I was the one that told Jamie, hey, why don't you call a former player of mine? She's a photographer. But anyway, go ahead. That's okay.
So, okay, let me give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
All right.
But no, I think that just maybe giving these kids an early opportunity to help them find their path early on in high school and kind of know where they're going to go in those steps into college, and having them have that hands-on experience, because I don't believe in that the paper's dead. I don't know if is that something people still say? Like,
there is a discussion
it's just
about that.
kind of went to what, social media, like
Sure.
Exactly. So that being such that big take and that big turn in there, I think with the kids being so big in the social media influence, this is definitely something where this is where the world is headed. So
Sure.
just kind of giving them that opportunity to find that outlet and go into that kind
Yeah,
of field
and you know, just
career.
as you were talking about that, I mean, that's part of what 228 wants to do. I mean, there is a side of that to present the athletes, the games, the scores, the highlights, the interviews, all of those things. But somebody's got to do that. Somebody's got to be on the other side of that mic. Somebody's got to be behind that camera. Somebody's got to put that story together. And, you know, we have a lot of experience at 228 Sports with our writers and people, but there's got to be a next wave of people involved in it. Yeah. And a lot of what they're doing is much different, because I've been around long enough to know to see that, to see the articles that were written, to get the paper the next day to read an article from a game the night before. Now it's okay. I just pick up my phone that night because I don't have to wait till the next day. Yeah, you're that old where you were in the newspaper articles.
All right,
and
we
stuff.
didn't have to. We didn't have to go there.
But that's okay.
We didn't have to put that out there.
But it is a change now. It is more at your fingertips and immediately. And these young men and these young ladies, I mean, Friday night by 10 o'clock, you can already see something that they've posted online through social media outlets, and it's video, it's an interview, it's a story, it's all of those things. And we've got a wide variety of that with these young men and these young ladies. We've got some with experience we're going to talk to that was a part of this last year. We've got some newbies, I guess is the way you call it, just getting involved in it. But it is that next thing. And I think, we've got some people at the high school level. We've even got some that have headed into college being a part of that. And I know, with the people that I've talked to through Mississippi Gulf Coast, Don Hammock, the SID over there, Patrick Oakes at Pearl River Community College, it is really exploding at that level. So for these young men and these young ladies to come in with some experience puts them that much more ahead of the game if they decide to pursue it at the next level.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Just like you were saying, it's kind of in their hands. Like you mentioned, we would have to get up the next morning and get it fresh off the press, just print it out. Now it's like, how quick can we get it out there and just kind of put it there for them? But not just the exposure and the experience for the students on the field, but also the athletes. We have a lot of great athletes down here on the coast. And I think that the more students on the field we have, not only are we giving them that experience, but we're getting as much coverage of all the schools with all the athletes that we do have on the coast.
Yeah. And so let's talk to a few of these people. Let's introduce them to now. We're going to start with it's a podcast, so it's a familiar voice because I got to put the face to the voice now, but we talked last year. And let you introduce yourself, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Reagan Hallfines. I just graduated from Pascagoula High School, which is where I did all of my work last year when I really started with 228 Sports. Now I'm over at JC and Gaucher, and I'm branching out in college and still working with 228 Sports with high school students, trying to, as she said, get the utmost coverage, with all sports, not just the tiny sports, not just the big sports, across the coastal cities, and try to branch it out and make it bigger than it was last year.
So coming in with a little experience now, over here to my left is a young man. Let you introduce yourself. And tell us a little bit about where you're at.
My name is Frederick Nicholson. I'm a senior at Gaucher High School, playing baseball and football, while also doing dual credit at the junior college here in Gaucher. Right. My experience with 228 Sports is I found out as an athlete, so I'm always reading their stuff, looking at their pictures, and I was like, that's really cool. And I was like, I really want to get into this, so I signed their internships. I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to do something I love while also getting experience.
There you go. And so Reagan, from your perspective, we talked last year. You worked with Pascagoula High School, now through Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Still want to stay on the high school level, or is this something that possibly could branch out through some work maybe at the next level with the community college?
Currently, it is with high school. I'm trying to work now in an upper position to help them with newcomers such as Frederick, give a base of what to do, this is how you do it, but also give it to them hey, make it your own, make it unique. And I want to bring it to college, and I want to bring it to college sports, which is a whole nother field and another world. But
sure.
And it also eventually grow into my own page and something with college.
And so when you look back at last year and you kind of evaluate, what was good, what was bad, what was one area that you're like, okay, I've learned from what I did. I want to do something a little bit better or maybe a little bit different. Is there anything that you're coming into this year, maybe looking back on some of the interviews, some of the things you did, say, I could do that a little bit better?
Looking back, I was definitely towards the beginning of everything, definitely more nervous. Mm-hmm. Even with talking with coaches, especially with players, because these are kids that you see them in school, but seeing them on the field is completely different because you are both in completely different positions. So with that, I want to go into this season more prepared, being able to, hey, I know this player, put aside, my personal standpoints, my nervousness, and be able to talk to them and get the best coverage for 228 Sports with coaches and players. So really just be more confident now that I have experience and teach confidence to people who come in.
Yeah, and then be able to show some of the people that haven't had that experience yet. It's there's going to be some nerves involved. I mean, that first game, that first interview with that coach sitting there, after a game or whatever, it's like anything else. The first time you do it, there's going to be a few butterflies, I guess.
Yes, sir. And that's something that you just have to learn to work through. I did that last year, and I'm still doing it this year. But
well, and for you, you and I remember talking last year. You kind of built that relationship with some of the coaches and had a comfort level of being able to talk to them in that capacity, because that's one of the things you mentioned. There is a different role, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about that as well. But there is, okay, I'm student and you're the coach, or I'm the student and you're the teacher. This is different dynamic to it. Okay. Now I'm a reporter asking you questions, and you have to build that ability to kind of separate the two. And that's a comfort level that I think, like you said, some of the nerves come to is like, this is Coach Sims, or this is, Coach Marcus High, or whoever. How do I ask him a question? Well, you just ask him the question, right? Yeah. And my question for you is from an athlete standpoint, you have to be able to do that too. You have to step away from the athletic part and put that down and say, okay, now I'm the sports reporter. I'm the guy asking the questions, and so is that something that you kind of got to get a feel for, you think, or you think you're ready to dive into?
There's definitely a point where you have to split the two up. I mean, the athlete, you're just all buddy with your coaches and everything, and then you go over to report, you have to be all serious and like, right. You don't know the guy.
And yeah, I mean, it is, and even more so. Again, two different perspectives here. From a female perspective, you have to be comfortable standing next to a high school male athlete or male coach and be able to carry on an interview. I mean, and from that point of view, and for you, you're as an athlete, you're in the locker room with those guys, or you're in the locker room with that coach, but then you have to step out of that and have the ability to say, okay, now I'm 228 sports reporting, and so there's different challenges.
You got to be able to swap those hats.
Yeah, and
mentality has to change.
Yeah.
Sure, and so if you had one piece of advice, what are you giving these newbies this in this meeting we've had tonight?
I'd say confidence. I'd say with the mentality thing, you're going to go in there with this mentality that these are your students, these are your peers, these are your players, especially you're on the team, you're athletes. So you see things that we might not see during the game. I may think, hey, number 3 had a great game, and you might have seen a play that he didn't make. So it's all about putting that thing aside and being like, hey, these are what I want to ask. Like, this is the questions that I want to get across. What am I trying to get out of this? And being able to, regardless of what they say, how they say it, continue on with your interview, even with your coach. Especially you're an athlete. Coach might not have been happy with the performance you gave that night, but being able to put that aside and ask your questions and be confident. Don't let the nerves show, which we all do for the first couple of games.
Right,
So I just want to ask, and I don't know if you can cut this or not, if it's not okay. But
you're out there now.
I mean,
Let's
I'm
go.
already out there, right? So I just have a question, because you're coming into this new, and I know how I was with my friends whenever we played. Like, I have some of my best friends, they look at me and we would just start laughing for no apparent reason. So that would make me so nervous. Like, what are you most nervous about coming into this? Like, are you worried about, I would say?
I wouldn't say nervous or worried. I think it's more of like being prepared. Like,
okay.
That's a good point. I mean, if you're prepared for something, there's going to be unexpected moments, because I was going to kind of ask along the same line. If you had one question to ask someone that's been there and done that, what would be your question to her?
It was preparedness. How do you prepare for questions? How do you prepare for before games, after games, and all that type of stuff?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Preparation, that's a great question, And as I said, you're on the field, so when I'm watching the game, I'm trying to get stats. Hey, what play did this day? So I can point it out later when I ask questions. Hey, coach, what do you feel about this play? How did this happen like this? What do you do preparing? You can see things as well. So something that I always did was I kept a little notebook, and I was like, I had like what you said earlier. I kept basic questions. When the team wins, I know these questions I can ask. If a team loses, I know these questions I can ask without causing any conflict. So I'd say keep a journal, write some questions, even a week before. Memorize those questions, something that you can ask both sides where there's no conflict, and you're on the field. Notice some things, point it out later.
Yeah. And so from a sports perspective, favorite sport to cover?
I really liked baseball this year.
Right,
I'm a football girl at heart,
right.
but baseball was really fun this year.
All right. What do you think right now is your favorite sport to cover?
To be honest, I like soccer. It's just,
Okay.
it's obviously out there, but
Somebody's
Soccer,
got to like
bro,
Somebody's got to cover it.
Somebody's got to cover. Somebody's
Hey,
got to
I
enjoy
write
it.
the articles for 228 Sports for soccer. Now, it's just recaps. I don't dive into it. I have done a radio broadcast of a soccer playoff game one time, and that was really hard
How
to
did
do.
that go?
That was really a long night. But, you know, it's so my advice for soccer is to have an understanding, you know, of the game. And if you love it, then obviously there is that passion about the game, and it will show in your questions and in the way you cover it. You know that. I mean, if you don't love it, then I heard, you know, we were having a meeting earlier, and Jamie said, well, you know, if you find out you hate this, and then it doesn't need to be your career, because that's the one thing I can say. You know, I never got rich coaching, but I loved every minute of it. But from soccer, you know, to have that prepared to be able to come in, because if I'm covering a baseball game, there's a lot I can talk about. I'm covering a soccer match. It may be 1-0, and there's just that one goal, and I'm like, okay, I got to pull something out other than, hey, so-and-so scored the winning goal. How did that feel? You know, there was and, you know, the goalie, how many saves did they have? I know there's things you can ask. I know a little bit about it. I pay attention to it. But that would be, you know, to cover that in that way would be a passion. So y'all got to get through football now, because you're talking about a spring sport, you're talking about a winter sport, but we got things to cover, you know, for the fall
now
with
apparently
volleyball.
we have golf.
We have golf in
Which is a fall sport.
Which is this is the second year. It's a
Second
fall
year.
sport. Okay,
right.
we put that in the notes.
Only in high school, you
And-
know.
oh,
Well,
only-
Brad didn't play it all
Oh,
year,
yeah,
but
well.
anyway. So,
I thought it stayed a spring sport as well.
I
no,
mean, I didn't
they
know.
moved
I'm-
to high school golf moved to the fall last year, and
Look.
so they get to play in the heat. But guys, wish you the best of luck. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you again, I'm sure, down the road. I always like catching up with you guys. Want to talk to you and see how the college and everything, how you're fitting that into the schedule. Just want to talk to you and find out how it's going, you know, and as a first year, involved in it and everything, and look forward to seeing your reports on different ball games throughout the week, whether it's Friday night football or volleyball, in the fall, soccer and basketball and whatever you're covering. And in the spring, when you get to baseball, your favorite. And just glad that you guys are a part of 228 Sports, and I hope that you have a great time with this.
thank you.
Thank you. It was
All
nice
right.
talking to you again.
There you go. All right. We'll be back, and we're going to talk to a couple more people. I would like to tell you who it's going to be, but I don't know who's going to come in here for the next segment. We're just pulling them in to talk to them, but Leah's going to hang around with me for a few more minutes
Lucky you.
throughout the podcast. Lucky me, as we talk to the students on the field, the 228 program, 228 Sports program that Jamie has started. And if you are listening to this and you would like to be a part of it, we've reached out through the journalism departments, through the high schools. You can contact me. You can contact Leah if you got contacts over in Harrison County. Jamie Foster at I think it's 228 Sports, info at 228 Sports. I think I'll double check on that. But we'd love to have more people involved. We'd like to have every high school across the coast, across the Southern Six, with a person that enjoys covering sports. So we're going to catch up with a couple more when we come back on the Southern Six Sports Podcast, brought to you by 228 Sports. We'll be right back.
Hey, all of you South Mississippi sports fans, are you ready for some high school prep sports this fall? Get in the game with the new 228 Sports app. Live scores, breaking news, players of the week, and so much more. Now available for iPhone and Android devices. Download the first dedicated high school sports app for South Mississippi today. Only from 228sports.com.
Ready to score big with the best sports coverage on the Mississippi Gulf Coast? Then lock your radio on WPMO. We're like the cool uncle who knows a little too much about sports, the one who gives play-by-plays at every family barbecue. From local high school games to the SEC and even the Atlanta Braves, tune your radio into 1580 or WPMOradio.com. Dave Ramsey is also back weekdays from 2 till 4 p.m., and you'll find the local and national news every weekday morning. WPMO, the talk of South Mississippi.
And welcome back to the Southern Six Sports Podcast, brought to you by 228 Sports, episode 2 already of season 3, as we count down towards high school football, Friday night lights. We got volleyball going on. We got cross country. We got golf. We got plenty to cover here in the fall. Too much for the reporters at 228 Sports. So Jamie Foster came up with this great idea last year that we are going to involve some students to do some of this because they know more about social media than we do because we're a bunch of old guys at 228 Sports. But they have come in here and they have really taken over this Students on the Field program, and we are introducing you to these young men and these young ladies. And we've also introduced you to Lea Santiago, who Jamie has managed to talk somehow into taking charge of this in her life where she has nothing else to do. But Lea is joining us on the podcast as well. Lea and I go as far back as Lea can remember because she graduated with my son and played softball for me and her sister, and I've just been a part of their family for a long time. I actually performed the wedding ceremony with her and her husband, Carlos, and so I've been involved in their family a long, long time, Lea.
Yep, a long time. And Coach Thornton, you got one more time to put me in the group of all you old people.
You are part of it.
Before
I'm sorry.
I lose it.
I'm sorry.
on
Brad's birthday's coming up, and I know how old he's going to be on Saturday, so I know how old you are.
Look, I stopped counting after like 25. Okay,
whatever.
I don't even. I mean, I
Anyway.
feel old. That's for sure, especially being around these youngsters. But no, this is definitely something that Jamie had brought to my attention about the students on the field, and I think that it's a great program. It's a great opportunity for these students to kind of get their foot in the door with journalism and talking in front of cameras and working with cameras and working with the media and things like that. If that's the career path they choose to take, it's a great opportunity. And right now I'll be reaching out. I mean, as you know, my sister is a teacher at West Harrison. I have a sister-in-law that's a teacher at D'Iberville High School. My brother-in-law is at Harrison Central. Of course, I'm at St. Pat. I do not teach there. I am only a part of the coaching staff there for softball. But still, you know, as that being a contact, and we're hoping to move this further into the Harrison County, Hancock County, and trying to get as many students out there and on the field with these sports and getting their feet wet.
Yeah, and you were a part of the journalism department at George County with Miss Leona O'Neill.
Miss O'Neill,
and
I love
still
Miss
there.
O'Neill.
And
I love her.
And so, but when you look at journalism departments, you know, the yearbook, there's maybe a student newspaper. I know George County does a YouTube broadcast
Now.
Yeah.
But
and
back in my day, you know, we
I don't
just
even know
did
if the
it
internet
papers,
existed back then, but anyway.
Oh,
But
it did. It was just dial-up.
but it's changed. I mean,
Yeah,
but
it has.
when you look at it and what these students, these young men, these young ladies have decided to get into, the media, the outlet that is media has changed so much.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it. I mean, the guys that we have writing, you know, that are covering sports. I mean, they're old print guys. They're deadlines. They're get it written, you know. And now here are these young men, these young ladies. They grab a phone and they're right there, and they can report and they can video and they can take camera shots and you know, in almost in real time you get updates on what's happening, and it's such an ever changing form of communication
and news. But you know, it's funny because I was on newspaper staff, and the newspaper layout. She taught us how to do the headlines and how it had to fit and all that kind of stuff. You still have that as part of like things that you have to meet.
Sure.
It's just electronic
Right.
now. It's not like actual physical paper.
My guess is the two of you would never even know how to go to like a stand and get a paper out of a stand
Put
and
the
put
quarters
chorns
in and then
Yeah.
wait till it locks the latch.
We still have one of those in George
know,
County. You can go
look.
to George County Times on Main Street
Look.
like that every Wednesday morning.
My mama used to make me get up as soon as I could drive and get up in the morning and go get her a Sun Herald and a Mississippi Press.
That's it.
Early Sunday morning. She always had to have her Sunday morning, but my mama always had to have her paper.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
I had a grandpa every single morning. He'd be with his newspaper, drinking coffee.
That's it. But now it's pick up the phone and do it, you know, immediately. So let's get away from the
click
old
the
times,
links.
the 1980s, or
I thought
y'all
we
talking about our
it's
90s or
nostalgia.
whatever. So
I was
there you go.
reminiscing.
All right. So introduce yourself. We got two people once again. We're trying to do two each segment. We start with the young ladies each time. So go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Addison Foster. Yes, Jamie Foster's daughter. Great.
Oh,
There's more.
There's more. There's more. I know.
He's learned to clone
I don't know
himself.
if it's good or bad. But anyways, so I'm a student at Resurrection Catholic School. I'm a senior this year, and I'm going to be doing the video editing. You know, I did it last year. I went to the games. You know, I literally videoed on my phone, and I looked like one of them moms out there with her phones up, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that because my mom does that for me.
My sister
and
does that.
That's literally what I did last year. I went out, I videoed with my phone, I put some cool filters on it, and I made it into a video. And it was pretty fun. You know, I'm thinking about going into graphic design
That's awesome.
in college, and that's what I'm interested in. And so I do video work, and my dad's been talking to me about going into like graphic design, like single post, you know, posting those on Facebook and things like that. So that's what I'm going to be doing this year, and I can't wait, and I'm excited.
There you go.
My name is Joshua Jeter. I'm from Pascagoula, Mississippi, but currently I'm going to MGCCC Perkinson campus. I'm currently majoring in sports broadcasting and media. I've been working with Don Hammock up in Perk with some of the softball stuff. Obviously, not enough as I need, but as we continue, we're going to get there. But I'll be doing play-by-play commentary, just whatever works best with me, you know?
Okay.
And
So you're working through radio at Gulf Coast?
I plan on it, yes, sir.
All right. So, man, softball and Gulf Coast, I mean, they can't get much better than that. I mean, as long as you don't have my son for a history class, you'll be all right. No, I'll take that. That's an easy A, without a doubt. But you
Don't
will
put
run.
that
You
on
will
the-
run across him
He
at
doesn't
some
mean that.
point.
Brad is
Whatever.
really going to make you
He's a
do
golf
work.
coach that just won a national championship. He's all right. So, but were you involved last year, or are you just now jumping in with 228 this year?
This is my first year
Okay.
with 228.
And so, so what's going to be your focus as far as we know? We got Resurrection over here, Pascagoula. We got Pascagoula covered, man. But what about? Are you going to kind of branch out from Perk, or what are you looking at to focus on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I plan on focusing on the areas that don't get as much media coverage. And with me being in Wiggins, I'll be like almost 30 minutes from a lot of the high schools. So I'm very accessible from like wherever like needs it, you know?
Yeah.
But I'd say like mainly like, I know Biloxi's big, but like that area, Biloxi, Gulfport, West Harrison, like stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like-
well, the Santiago family's all over that over there too. So, when you look at this, so we're kind of in a situation. We got a little experience, got a lot of experience over here, and kind of a new thing. So I'm going to kind of keep the questions as I did in the first segment from the experience standpoint. Looking back on doing this from last year, and having your dad probably looking over your shoulder every minute of every second of what you were doing.
Yep.
It's
When
not
you-
just sports, y'all.
Well, nah,
the parents
exactly.
aren't
It's
just
just-
like that
it's
if you play
just
sport. It's
parents.
That's
everywhere.
right. It's just mom and dad. But when you look back on it and going into this year, you're like, okay, these are some things that I want to improve on, some things I want to change about what I'm doing. You mentioned the videoing with the phone and all that. I mean, were you satisfied with that, or is it like, okay, I can do a little more, I can do a little bit better?
So I really enjoyed it. You know, I used a great editing video app that a lot of people use. It was really easy, but I can definitely devote some more time to it now that I'm not doing journalism as well. I was doing yearbook staff, and so I was used to graphic design. We used to make slideshows and post them every single week, and I had criteria to meet for the yearbook, and so I did, and I took pictures for that too at games, and I was everywhere. I was more taking candids and not action photos. That's not my specialty. It's more like candids, you know.
Yeah.
That's more of my interest if I were to do photography, but I had that on my plate too, and so I was going to games for that too, and then during the spring I was there videoing too, and so I can definitely devote some more time to it this year because I don't have another class on top of it that I have criteria to meet for, because we designed the whole yearbook ourselves. We had to. And so I designed a lot of pages last year. So
I did, like Coach Thorne was talking about earlier, I was on the newspaper staff, but Miss O'Neill, she did newspaper and she did the yearbook. So a lot of times, even though it was journalism, I guess was the class, I remember that, you know, newspaper was stressful whenever it got closer to, like, we got
Oh my
print.
gosh,
But
yes.
yearbook, I think that those kids wanted to like cry because they would be assigned like so many pages, and they were like, that I have to do this page, and they would have to make sure that they had pictures of every single person in the school, at least one, so everybody felt included in the yearbook. Because if I'm not in the yearbook, I'm not buying it.
And most of the time, we were voluntold to go certain places.
Not voluntold.
I was voluntold. Not in a bad way. I enjoyed it. No. But I did have to go to a lot of games last year for pictures. And I really didn't mind it because I love photography. But I was more taking candids of the students, getting everyone. Candids are very fun. And I was a campus minister, too. And so we held retreats for each class. And so I'd take the camera there. That's awesome. My gosh, there was once that our campus minister was preaching to the young folks, like, oh my gosh, I just use folks, to the young students.
She's an old soul.
Okay. And he was talking to the young students, and I was there with my camera, and one of the 7th graders, no, they were little middle schoolers, she literally raised her hand while he was talking to him, and he answered it, and she said, "Are you going to take pictures? Like, do you want to do that with the rest of your life?" I was like, you don't have to focus on me. And I was very caught off guard.
The Lord is with us. Is that the question you want to
ask? Yes. That's what he was talking about. That's what you need to be focusing on.
Right.
The Lord. Oh, my gosh. But it was hilarious. But so I did a lot of that last year. But
that's awesome.
It was really fun. But especially during the spring, it got very hectic because we had certain pages to meet. And I had to reach out to coaches and teachers, talk to people, get questions, It was a lot, but it was really fun, and I enjoyed it.
So just even having that experience is something that you can bring over into 228 Sports and have that background in that. So this is not as stressful, I'm sure.
I mean, and with the multitasking of doing those things from that area, but again, from your perspective, still a little bit of the multitasking because you talked about the announcing and then the reporting and everything. And speaking from experience, I mean, I've literally did a football game on WRB on Friday night and went home and wrote up the story to send to 228 Sports, and it's stressful, but it's not impossible. But that's one. Which one, or is there a balancing act to that for you that you got to find between the announcing and then the reporting part of it? Or are you going to separate the two? Because most of your announcing is involving Mississippi Gulf Coast.
I would say somewhat balancing it, just like. Maybe focus more on announcing for like PERC, maybe, and then whenever like work more so on like post game, pregame with here, because I don't have as much experience as I would with PERC, with me being in band and stuff like that. So I feel like more so balancing it.
Okay, and so you mentioned working with Don, Sports Information Director over at Mississippi Gulf Coast, and he's got that background. Reporter, all of those things. I mean, great resource for you guys to kind of lean into. But for you now and for you in the future, I mean, that's where this thing is headed, I guess, for you guys. I mean, you're there. I mean, you're at the college level working through the sports, and you mentioned specifically, and that's kind of, that seems like where it's going. It's more once you get to the college level, okay, what team are you going to follow? Is that kind of how things are going at PERC? There's a person that, like in your situation, where you're going to focus on softball, and versus another person that may focus on the baseball team, because you can't be in both places at the same time, and basically their schedules run parallel to each other. And then another group of people that are really into the busy time now of getting ready for football, I guess. And so does that leave you just kind of a little more using the high school aspect of it to kind of broaden out a little bit, maybe?
I would say so, yeah. I want to try and touch more on soccer. Okay. Soccer doesn't really get as much media coverage as it should, like especially over here in Pascagoula, because you hardly ever hear of like soccer and like just stuff like that, like a lot of like less well-known fall sports, because you only hear about football and stuff over here. Okay. And like there's a lot of good coast talent when it comes to soccer, and a lot of people don't realize that. And I want to help get those athletes the recognition that they deserve, because everybody says when they think of soccer, they think of schools up north, like Northwest Rankin and stuff like that. But we could prove and show that the athletes are just as good down here as they were up north.
Well, I mean, you look at a program like Long Beach and multiple state championships in a row in boys soccer. I mean, and OLA, and
St. Patrick's girls were
St. Patrick's
back-to-back state champs.
And so you've got that, and I know, like Resurrection with volleyball. Obviously baseball, they've been very successful last couple of years as well.
Yeah, that's
Baseball's really good.
Football, but to be able to cover those sports because Friday night we're still going to go to the football games. That's where we're going to get our videos.
Absolutely.
But so is Mike Wixon and the guys with John Bilas and Jamie and different people. Rob. And those guys that cover and write for 228 Sports, I mean, you're going to get those guys writing the stories. They need the pictures, the interviews, and the things that you can do, from that perspective. But the story is going to get written for most football games. I mean, there's going to be people covering those games. But like you said, a Tuesday night soccer game, especially, when it's the middle of January and it's about 45, 50
Freezing,
degrees.
yeah.
And
That's why there's no coverage out there.
Play there
like,
too.
can I cover this from my car?
Right.
Gosh, I'm
Can I
always
pull the
shivering.
car up?
Join me in the tent where the heater is.
That's it.
That was the gold mine.
And so, so that's part of it. And I think because again, those athletes, there are so many athletes that we don't hear about, that are playing these sports, and they're going to go to the next level and represent the coast and do a great job with it. And they have. I mean, it's not just going to start now. It's been happening. And to get that story out there on them, I think, because that's two people now have said soccer's my thing. I'm like,
I know.
wait,
I've been floored by it. I'm like,
the unexpected answer to those questions. So, all right, finishing up same way I did last time. Experience coming back. Okay, what is your advice? New person covering. What's one piece of advice you give somebody stepping into this for the first time?
What I would say is I tended to stress a lot about meeting certain dates and getting stuff. Do not stress because it can be so fun. And it's not only something you can put on your resume, but it's an experience. Like, that's why I did it, for the experience, for the job. But it was so fun, and I really enjoyed it, especially working alongside my dad. I had so much fun last year, and I probably could have enjoyed it more if I didn't stress out as much. Gosh, I overthink everything. And so what I say to you and telling myself this year is, don't stress about getting there at certain times, meeting there. Oh my gosh, I remember I even stressed out if they make me pay for a ticket or not with my 228 Sports Pass. Like, it was everything I was overthinking, and I probably could have enjoyed it more if I didn't overthink everything. Sure. And so that's what I tell myself, and I tell new people is to enjoy it. You're doing this for the experience, enjoy the experience and really soak in everything that you're learning, because sometimes we overthink and we can't focus on what we're learning because we're too busy overthinking everything,
No doubt. Yeah.
And so that's what I'd say. Soak it all in and focus on what you're getting out of it.
Remember why you started it. If you love it, don't let it stress you out. You're supposed to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. And so, first time out, head to that first whatever sport you're covering. What's the number one concern? And just told them don't stress out about it. What's going to have you stressed out about that first night?
I would just say the preparation. I know that kind of goes against everything what she was saying, but like I'm more of a type of person where I want to have everything planned ahead of schedule, nothing last minute. So like limit that stress.
Well, I will tell you this. Preparation is a great way to avoid a lot of that. And I'm not saying you weren't prepared, because you said I overthink everything. You were probably very well prepared.
I like
you just
to plan, but I
you just try to think.
Yes.
Now, under that guise of being prepared, I will say you are covering live as it happened events that sometimes things you cannot predict will happen. And I think that's where it gets into, hey, I just got to roll with it. I can't overstress with it. Yeah. I'm going to cover it. It's pouring down rain. I didn't come prepared. This coach doesn't want to do this interview. Hey, I'm just going to, that's when I think the just roll with it and not stress out, because going into anything prepared, you should have that confidence. I mean, it's one of those things that, again, I go back to coaching and coaching Lea all those years and all the years I've coached softball. If you step into the batter's box and you're nervous or scared, it's probably because you didn't put in enough work to have the confidence that you're going to be okay. And these athletes, that's what they're trying to prepare for right now. If they're in fall sports, if they're a golfer, they want to be able to stand over the ball and have confidence. I can hit this ball where I want to. It doesn't mean you're always going to do it, but I'm going to prepare enough to where I have the confidence in doing that, and you just carry that over into reporting. Okay, I've got my notes. I'm prepared. I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm good to go. And if I have to go to plan B, it'll be okay.
What is that saying? Failing to prepare is preparing to
No
fail.
doubt. That's it.
Exactly.
So, well, guys, again, I'm glad you're a part of 228 Sports. You just don't have a choice. You got Foster as your last name. You were going to be in this. Jamie's just roped us all into doing this and thoroughly enjoyed it.
He's building an empire
So
for you.
that's it.
He just wants to hand it. He's doing all the hard work now, just to hand it to you.
That's it. So, but I do wish you the best of luck, and look forward to talking to you. As we go through the season and catching up with some of your reporting. I'd love to kind of have a midterm podcast where we catch up with everybody and see what's going well, what's took you by surprise. I think there'll be some great stories to tell from that, and we look forward to it as we continue to build this students on the field program through 228 Sports. And when you look back maybe in 3 or 4 years and you finished up college and all that, and we kind of got this thing hopefully still here if the Lord's willing, and you can say, hey, I did that first, and now it's I can talk to people about it, and hopefully it's a springboard to the career of your choice. And I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
There you go.
Good
All
luck,
right,
guys.
Leah, we got a few more to talk to, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe one or two more. So we got one more segment. And I do want to thank the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce for hosting the meeting tonight, the podcast and everything, right down here on the railroad tracks, as you just heard the train go by a few minutes ago.
It's a beautiful building,
we
too.
do appreciate it. And we're still looking at as far as future podcasts go with 228 Sports and the Southern Six Sports podcast. We're getting over to Paw Paw's Camper City in a couple of weeks to kind of focus on Pearl River County. We're going to try to get over there and talk to the football coaches and some guys that deal with them from media, the Talking Ball y'all crew over there that does a great podcast and does some great broadcast of Pearl River, Poplarville, and Picayune football and other sports. And also want to thank once again Pascagoula Tire and Service for their sponsorship, as I'm back down in Pascagoula for week number 2 again. So I've enjoyed my time down here once again. But
it's just a shoot down 63 for you.
That's it, just straight on down the highway. So we'll continue on as we talk to the students on the field here on the Southern Six Sports Podcast, brought to you by 228 Sports. We'll be right back.
Hey, all of you South Mississippi sports fans, are you ready for some high school prep sports this fall? Get in the game with the new 228 Sports app. Live scores, breaking news, players of the week, and so much more. Now available for iPhone and Android devices. Download the first dedicated high school sports app for South Mississippi today. Only from 228sports.com.
And welcome back to the Southern Six Sports Podcast, episode 2. As again, we get ready for high school sports across South Mississippi. And tonight we have introduced you to some of the students on the field. Now, we had a couple more, and actually one of them had to leave to go work. He was going to cover it. James Spain, covering for Moss Point. We talked to James last year. He was a reporter. He does some what Jamie's here with us. James was kind of a photographer. He did a little bit of all of it. Photography. I mean, he got in front of the camera, got behind the camera, did a little bit of all of it.
He did. James is going to go far. James is hungry. I do not doubt that one day you'll see him on ESPN or Fox Sports. James has done some writing for us. He's done some photography for us. He's done some on-camera reporting. James is kind of like a little local celebrity in Moss Point.
No doubt. And we talked a lot last year, and he's actually covering a volleyball game tonight, Moss Point and Pascagoula, I believe. So the Battle of the Cats early version there involved. And then Aiden Sullivan, and you kind of have to explain Aiden's story here for us because long way from home.
He is. So his family, Aiden's father works for Chevron, and so he was coming home. He's into sports, broadcast and whatnot. So because of my contacts at Chevron, father reached out and wanted to see if there was anything that Aiden could maybe jump in and help. So I contacted Aiden. I took him to good old Waffle House, and
That's the way to recruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Waffle House.
Scattered, smothered, and covered.
That's actually how he got me too. So.
But now Aiden has been this summer putting together some reels and content for our social media channels, and just a good kid. He's done a lot of really cool videos for Biola University out there in LA. And he's heading
long
back
way
in
from home.
he's heading back in 2 weeks, but we were happy to have him this
There
summer.
you go. And so we now have an official title for Lea. She is Students Program Director, and we also have someone with a title joining us for this segment, the Content Director of 228 Sports. Now, in a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago, Sam, you were referred to as the quarterback or the
Was
point
he?
guard, maybe. I
Quarterback?
don't remember. I think it was, if I remember. And you were kind of like, I needed somebody to direct it, but Sam
know.
King joining us.
Man, you know how these young people like titles.
So Sam is joining us as content director. He's kind of the guy that Jamie said, just put the schedule together and we'll go with it. So
yeah, it's a fancy title, but basically just pointing everybody in the right direction and trying to keep everybody on
Don't
track.
simplify it. It's so much more than that. You're doing so much more than that.
So Sam, when you look at that, with content, it's kind of a building wave when you talk about high school sports, because we're 2 weeks into school. I know some schools got started, if they're on the adjusted schedule in July. But as far as the athletics go, you're kind of slowly working your way in. You got some volleyball that's been going on for about a week now, and you'll have some golf tournaments. And we're August 23rd, the Jamborees, and August 30th. And then once you get to that point, it doesn't turn in. It just turns into a tsunami, because there is something going on across the coast pretty much 6 days a week.
Yeah, it's pedal to the metal pretty much from August.
Because really the fall just lets you get warmed up, because the fall you only got 3 or 4 sports, and then you get into the wintertime and you get soccer and basketball mostly, and some powerlifting and some other stuff. And then by the time you get to February, you better have your ducks in a row, because that's when everything just rolls out there, And so for you, also some adjustments from a standpoint of still in the newlywed stage, I guess. Congratulations on the wedding.
Yes, thank you.
He's blushing.
I know Jamie made an appearance for about 10 minutes before the ceremony, and then he had to leave, but it was good to have him there for a little bit. It's been good so far.
You and I
See how he called you out like that?
you and I got to sit and meet, and met your wife, and Debbie was with me, and we were at the WXXV sports banquet. Appreciate Jamie allowing us to attend that. Appreciate WXXV inviting us, and really enjoyed that, because I think and Jamie, you can attest to this as well, WXXV is really, as far as a media outlet, they really focus, on the local athlete, which is something that 228 Sports is trying to carry off in a different way, with the media, because we're obviously not a television station, but we still are along. I think our ideas kind of align really well.
Yeah. So
nothing against Channel 13, I'm just saying WXXV. I'm not. Please don't say that. I think Blake and Matt and those guys do a great job, but I just think our mission kind of aligns more with them.
Yeah. Don Moore at WXXV and I have known each other for a long time, and they approached me with that function that they were doing to recognize the students and the athletes. And I just, I thought it would be good that we had presence there, and turned out good. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I unfortunately was out of town, but that's what it really is besides just being a digital publication for high school sports or coast sports for that matter, I would love for this to be a training ground for not only for these athletes to get exposure, but these kids that are, behind the scenes telling the stories and giving them the exposure.
Yeah. And I got to give
for the students by the students.
And I give, and I mentioned Channel 13 WLOX Coast, and they took Mackenzie and did the interview, and it really kind of fed off into her. And Sam, from that standpoint, this students on the field thing that you and Lea are kind of running from that point of things. That's what you hope to see. I hope I see James and Aiden and these young men and these young women, at the and use a coaching term, at the next level.
At the next level.
At the next level.
Right.
At the next level,
Yeah.
And this is, like Jamie said, it's a great training ground.
Maybe one day he'll sign your baby.
There you go. I don't know. Maybe they'll be famous. Who knows? Anyway.
Maybe one day they can make time to be on your
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
That's right.
In their busy
They'll
schedule.
big time us and not go.
Yeah.
Remember the little people.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
But from your perspective, Sam, as you kind of deal with basically scheduling and getting people in the right direction and heading, I mean, having a number of students available, the easier it is for you, because if I've got 20 people and, we've got 25 schools, I think, in our area is what we're covering, hey, get out there. You cover everybody.
It's great in two ways. One, because it does help to have more people available for me scheduling and covering as many schools in different areas as possible. But also, it's 228 Sports' goal is for students and the athletes. It's for them.
Mm-hmm.
So getting as many involved as possible, it's great.
Yeah.
Because that's who it's for.
And that's what we've been talking about throughout the podcast with the different students that we've talked to is, they have a role in it as well, because we're covering sports. So the athletes, they're going to get their coverage. Mm-hmm. You score the touchdowns, you score the points, you hit the home runs, those type of things, you win the ball games, you're going to get that attention. But to be doing it from a student perspective of them getting, from that point of it, because and I mentioned it earlier, Jamie, we've got some great writers. We've got some great experienced writers, with 228 Sports. And the coast is the history of writers across the area. But now we've got this younger audience, Sam, that you're kind of directing, and Leah, and what we're doing here, that may be the next, I don't know, Doug Barber, maybe the next Mike Wixon in a different capacity, because it's not a daily print grind of a newspaper.
Right.
Right. But it's that next person that's deep in knowledge of the coast, or maybe goes to the next level. I mean, Robin Roberts started at Channel 13, and there's been others.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool to, and from my perspective, how this thing has grown and morphed into what it is. Like I was saying earlier, this all kind of happened by accident.
Yeah.
But here we are, and whatever kind of accident it was great. I'm glad that we're here now. But now, everything that I try to be a part of, I want to have purpose. And so, with our Mississippi home, it's a good news catalyst for the state. 228 Sports. Let's do a student-run publication that's a catalyst for these students, and even the upper level of people that are involved, and the support that we've been able to get. So it's kind of cool.
And when you look at it from that standpoint, and Leah was talking about it, the journalism departments, the yearbook staffs, I mean, each school that they've kind of gotten into this, but to do it beyond, to focus on your school. I mean, we've got students and they're going to focus on their areas. I mean, if you're from Pascagoula, Pascagoula, James, Moss Point, he's going to cover that area. We got Gaucher, Resurrection, the different schools, and want to build on that. I mean, want to go to George County and to Stone and over to Hancock County and Pearl River County and have that ability. But for those students to get they can get that experience, and Leah can speak from it because she worked on the newspaper in high school, but to do it in front of a camera, to do it on a Friday night, to do it live in a way, that's different. I mean, but that's where social media, that's where the media is headed.
Well,
it's where it's at.
Yeah.
It's where it's at.
It's where we're going to continue.
It's a different world now. And, even a lot of the reporters, they got their start with social media. Yeah. And so I'm glad that Leah, has taken a chance and jumping on board and helping me build this thing. But I can only cast a vision, but it's going to take, us getting in there and learning as we go. I mean, this is not something that we've worked years on building. So we are asking the students that get involved with us to take some ownership in this,
Well, and I think that's what's going to make it successful is somebody to take that ownership. And we heard a little bit. I think we had some great because each time we had talk, we had an experienced person and a new person, and they kind of fed off each other and were able to ask questions to each other and things. And I think that's important because to go through some of those things. You need that training. You need that first year experience, that first Friday night or that first Tuesday night interviewing a volleyball coach in the fall, or that first Friday night interviewing a football coach, and they talked about the butterflies and the nervousness and worrying about your daughter stresses over everything. So tell her, you got to get her to chill out a little bit. But
I think it actually came from him. I think he was the one that was stressing her out. So I think it's more of like
so that burden has kind of got away. But but those type of things, they still got to go through that. I mean, we all, and I tell coaches all the time, you're going to have to coach that first game. You're going to have to, and players, you're going to have that first at bat. You're going to have to take that first snap, hit that first shot, whatever. And this is just the same thing along those same lines of standing up there, but you're kind of putting yourself out there in a little way, because the thing about sports is sometimes you can hide here and there and do things and it might not go noticed, but I'm going to turn that camera on and I'm going to put that mic in my face. Everybody's going to see it, good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah, we've been doing some mock interviews, and you can tell the nerves are there. But, it's just like anything. And, Mackenzie set the bar so high last year. And Reagan came up right behind her, and then Ava. And it's amazing, a little coaching. And then they held their own. Yeah. So
I don't know. I just, coming from a athlete and then doing the photography and then being a coach, and I feel like every big important thing that's ever was big and important at that time in my life that it gave me butterflies was a good thing. It meant that I was excited about it. It meant that it was important to me. And whenever you got the butterflies, I think that there comes that sense of importance, and it that's good. You want them to be nervous to an extent, because you know that they know that it's a big deal, and they're excited about it. So I think the nerves are good. I think that, as you work through them, but like you said, I still get nervous I'm coaching now. So it's like every game, whether it be my travel team or at St. Pat, or if I'm doing a lesson with a new kid, like everything that I do, I still get nervous. A photo shoot, first time meeting those people, I'm still nervous about it.
Yeah, you posed well when we were out there with cameras while you were coaching softball.
I try.
She knew we were there.
That hand on her knees pose at the coach's house.
I mean, that I was in ready position. You know how many foul balls I have to catch over there?
Right.
And so, and Jamie, just kind of moving forward, still looking for people that are potentially interested.
We are, and that's part of the strategy of Lea coming on board. Harrison and Hancock, we're looking for students. So if there are some interested students that want to get involved with 228 Sports, please have them email me at info@228sports.com, and we'll connect them with Lea and Reagan, and we'll get the ball rolling.
And I know you've reached out to some of the schools and things through the journalism departments and others, and so they're aware of it. And we just want to share those people that obviously are interested in that, because they wouldn't be sitting in a journalism class if they weren't. We just want to share and broaden their experiences. Where we'd like to have them be a part of this.
Yeah, I really have to thank a lot of the guidance counselors, the CCTI instructors, the yearbook staff that I have talked to. They, I think that they see the vision. We're still, again, it's, I've got so many plates in the air right now, but I think that they're getting on board, and they see the vision, and they look at the opportunity that we can give for these students. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just one guy. It takes a village.
No doubt. And so, if you have a student, and from a coach's perspective, and we talked a little bit about this before we did the podcast, Jamie had met with these students and these young men and young women. And from a coach's perspective, I hope the coaches out there, and I think they did a great job with this last year of really accepting these kids and what they're trying to do. And I hope, as coaches, if you're listening to this podcast, they've been asked to get to know you, to introduce themselves, and they want to be a part of this. And so I hope these coaches, and we talked about it, it's really a hard time immediately after a game. Now, if you win, everybody wants to talk after you win. After a loss, a little bit harder. But give these young men and these young women the time, because they want to grow into this. And just like Lea said, the first time to do anything, just remember they're going through this, and and there's a lot of pressure on them. So try to be patient.
Yeah.
I say from a coach's
Give some
standpoint,
grace.
please be patient with them.
Give
and,
some grace.
And and answer
there's some
their questions.
baseball coaches out there that just really embraced
They
it last
did.
year. It
They
was
really
cool.
did. You talked about Mackenzie and the way she handled it, and the others that really set the bar high last year. But that was made a lot easier by those coaches that I heard those interviews with. They did a great job, and I know football is a little different animal. There's an intensity to football, and it's a challenge. But I even thought some of those that were done last year really did a great job with that, and I hope they continue to do that. So we're looking forward to it.
Yep. We just need everybody to tune in, follow us on social media, and give feedback. I'm pretty easy to find, and if there's again somebody that you need to talk to or you got some ideas, we welcome it. I mean, this is 228 Sports is just what we want to do is, like I said, just lock arms with everybody and just be a platform for everyone. Yeah, and we're going to continue to take the podcast on the road. We've got set up to Paw Paw's Camper City over in Picayune. We're working on that. I know been talking to the Shuckers, got to work it out, where we may go to was it Keesler Federal Stadium now? Did I name that? I believe that's the name.
It got sold or bought or whatever.
Right. So I wanted to get the name right. But talked to Javik. I've talked to him in the past with the Shuckers, and we're going to get in there and do some podcasts. Now we're going to start talking to people and getting set for football previews and everything. Maybe even get some volleyball coaches on here as well as we move to the volleyball season. But that's kind of where we're headed with this podcast, and want to keep you informed and updated and entertained. Hope you enjoy listening to this. Leah, as always, great to catch up with you. Looking forward to working with the students on the field through 228 Sports and everything that they've got going on. Appreciate you taking time again out of your schedule to be a part of it. And Jamie, as the coordinator over all of this, we didn't give Jamie a title. We got to give Jamie the all-being knowing of
no. Do not use the word king anywhere in my
the all-being master of time and space of 228 Sports.
Yeah.
But
the guru.
I don't know about that.
You could be the dreamer.
Yeah.
You've got the dream. You're feeding it out there. We're just gonna make it happen.
Sure, I'm the Jerry Garcia of 228 Sports.
If you've got information or you've got a story about an athlete that maybe some adversity dealt with something, get in touch with Jamie, get in touch with Sam, these guys, and let them know, because some of the things that the stories that 228 Sports has done, there's more than just reporting the score and giving the numbers.
Yeah,
there is a story to a lot of these athletes, and we're trying to share that on both sides, from a reporter and these kids that want to be a part of it from that standpoint. But we don't want to lose focus on the athletes as well. So let Jamie know, info at 228 Sports.
Yep.
And you can get in touch with Sam King as well. Appreciate him joining us there for a few minutes. He got called away. But also appreciate the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce for being a gracious host this week as well. But for Leah and Jamie, this is Coach Bruce Thornton. Appreciate you tuning in once again on the Southern Six Sports Podcast. Looking forward to a great year. The 2024-2025 high school athletic year is here, and we will be covering it through 228 Sports from start to finish, from the start of volleyball season all the way to state championships for baseball and softball once again when they get here in May. So looking forward to it. And guys, I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week with Southern Six Sports Podcast. Once again, brought to you by 228 Sports.
You've been listening to the Southern Six Sports Podcast with Bruce Thornton. Stay in the game with 228sports.com. The Southern Six Sports Podcast is produced weekly by 228sports.com. All content and interviews are copyright of 228 Sports LLC. Contact us on the web for more information.